Alright, welcome back to the channel. My name is Frazier. I'm here with my Hero Frog deck profile that I just used to get top 8 at YCS Richmond's Ultimate Time Wizard Tournament. I did actually play some Spice, so I know a lot of people know about the list already from prior tournaments. I used something very similar to top the NAWCQ this year, and also I played in Deck Devastators earlier, which is where this list kind of first originated from. But it's made a lot of changes since then, and a lot of people have taken their own spin on it. It actually won the last Ultimate Time Wizard before Richmond in Indianapolis. Oscar Zelaya won with it, playing 3 Upstart Goblins. So the deck has been performing really well throughout the format, which is really pleasing to me because it's my favorite deck, and I like seeing other people spin on it. I feel like there's a lot that you can actually do with the Hero Frog deck. I feel like there's a lot of ways that you can push it to make it better, perhaps. I don't think the Edison is solved, so with that, I also feel like a lot of the decks aren't solved. Also, before we get into like the actual deck profile, I just want to talk briefly on some of the drama because, as you guys know, there was some crazy stuff that happened at Richmond. So they did tell everyone that it was going to be top 16 cut. The judges did say that while we were playing the Swiss rounds, and then when all of the Swiss rounds were concluded, all 7 of them, they told us that it's actually top 8. So a lot of people thought that they made it, and a lot of people made Facebook statuses and tweets and all types of posts happy that they made top 16 and they actually did not get in, which really sucks. So really unfortunate that that happened. I've never seen anything like that before, where misinformation has been spread like that, but unfortunately, that was the case for Richmond. We didn't have any bad ruling calls, at least I'll say. I don't think there's anything like too crazy in regards to that, but yeah, there was that bit of drama, but what would an event be if there isn't a little bit of drama, right? So kind of used to it at this point. But yeah, I did end up finishing X1. I was 4-0. I didn't drop a game for the first 4 rounds. I was just like technically 8-0. And I was like, man, I'm running kind of hot. Like, I'm just destroying everyone. And then round 5, I won game 1, and then I lost game 2 just because I was like kind of playing around a bit with oppression. Like, my opponent had oppression up, and I didn't out it when I could have earlier because I felt like I was holding back his potential Dark Arm. He's playing Value Turbo. And so I ended up losing a game round 5, and then I won game 3, and then round 6 was my actual first loss. So at this point, I'm 5-0, and I was like, well, I'm guaranteed top 16 because if you're 5-0 and there's only 2 more rounds left, there's no way you don't top. So from my perspective, I was telling everybody who was asking me about my record, I was like, I should be good for top 16 now, even if I lose the next 2 rounds, which actually wasn't the case. Like, it was top 8. So technically, there's a chance that if I lost those 2 rounds, I would not have topped. But I did end up losing round 6 to Black Wings. I won game 1, and then games 2 and 3, I got Whirlwind, and then like game 3 specifically was like Whirlwind plus Solemn, so I just lost. And then in round 7, I played against a fellow YCS champion and a friend of not only the podcast, but a guy that I've gone to locals with my whole life, Tom Mack. He's really, really good. We played each other round 7. He's playing Diva Hero Beat, and I beat him. So I was X1, so I was guaranteed top 8, no matter if it was top 8, top 16, top 4, whatever they wanted to do. I finished 3rd in Swiss, so I was really comfortable. And this is the second time that I've been X1 in Swiss. I haven't had the X2 worry about tiebreaker situation come up yet, so that felt really good. And then Tom Mack ended up getting 8th place. He was the only X2 to make it into the top 8. So all the other X2s basically were kind of just playing for nothing. Like, they all played in the event thinking that it was top 16, and they would have dropped way earlier if they knew that it was only top 8. Because honestly, if you go like 2-2, you can't really top the event if it's a top 8 cut. Like, that's just not going to happen. You need to lose really late or have like insane tiebreakers to make it. And Tom Mack's tiebreakers were me, who was X1, and then the other person he lost to was actually the only undefeated in Swiss at the end of it. So he had the best tiebreakers, which meant that he was the only X2 to make it. Anyways, let's get into the deck profile. All right, so before I completely start showing these cards, I want to give a special shout out to my best friend, Xavier. He actually decided to, for my birthday this month, he collected every single card from my Hero Frog deck in the highest rarity, or ultimate rare, which is my favorite rarity. So a lot of these cards are now like outrageously expensive, and this was probably one of the most ridiculous birthday gifts I've ever received. So really special shout out to him. Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. Like, I really, really love this deck, and to have it now in such high rarity for the cards. And Ultimate Rare is my favorite rarity. I know that some cards can be Starlight or whatever, but I don't really like Starlights. That's not really my thing. They weren't around when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, so I don't really have an attachment to them. But Ultimate Rare is just like, do it for me. And yeah, seeing this deck like this is insane. It went from being a deck that just had like a Super Trap Dust Shoot was the most expensive thing in it, and now it's like, I don't even know the value of it anymore. Like, now it's just crazy. So Yeah, just wanted to give a special shout out to him for this. But the deck is 3 Swap Frog, of course. These things are very beautiful. 3 Substitute, 2 Dupe Frog, 2 Treeborn Frog. Like, look at those. They're ulti first. They just look insane. Really happy to have these cards. So 1 Unifrog, 3 Ulti Caius. Yes, he actually did get me Ulti Caiuses. But yeah, Ulti Ryza, Ulti Stratos. I love Ulti Stratos. Ulti Alias, Malicious Edge. And then we have Elemental Hero Ocean, Infernal Prodigy, Gores, double Battle Fader. So I did cut 1 Fader from the list. Not too much of a crazy change there. 1 Junk Synchron. And then, so I was playing some Spicy Tech this weekend, and we'll get into it in a second, but 1 Dandelion. And then, so that's all the monsters. Then for the spells, we have, of course, 3 Miracle Fusion. These are ultis. They are very beautiful. Ulti Enemy Controller. This just came out, I believe. Brain Control. So this goes with the Dandelion, but I'm also playing Future Fusion. Mystical Space Typhoon. Reinforcement Army. 1-for-1 E-Call, Soul Exchange, Heavy Storm. And then for the traps, we have 3 Raigeki Break and a Trap Dust Shoot. I kept this exactly the same. I'm really comfortable with this package, so I didn't really feel the need to go down on Raigeki Breaks or add any more discard traps. I just kind of like it the way it is. It's just enough for me, and I have no complaints with that. For the side deck, 3 DD Crow. These are ulti first. I know that this card comes Starlight Rare, but again, I prefer ulti, so really like these. 2 Vanity's Fiend, 2 Snowman Eater, 1 Mobius, 2 copies of Super Poly, another Soul Exchange, 2 Dust Tornadoes, a Torrential, and Mirror Force. So Mirror Force I know comes in like a lot of different rarities. I've always, since I was a kid, I've really just liked Super Mirror Force. Like, I like it more than Ultra, so I just play that. And I think that this is like a collector's rare, Torrential Tribute or something. But yeah, that's the side deck. And then for the extra deck, we have the Gores token, of course. But yeah, Army Arm, Junk Warrior, Android, Cataster. Flamvel guy, I never make this, but it used to be Mistworm. I never made Mistworm either. I don't think either of these cards really comes up. And my theory is that when they do come up, they're just game. But like, they might come up 1 out of every 100 games or something like that. But yeah, I've never made this. I've never needed to make this. I never wanted to make this. Same thing with Mistworm. So this is just kind of there for now. If I ever feel like I need something better, I'll get around to changing it. But yeah, Brionac, Goyo, Black Rose, Colossal, Stardust, and then we have Super Alloy Beast Raptinus for Super Poly, Gaia. This is important for Dandelion. And then the 3 copies of Absolute Zero. Okay, so I want to go over some of the things that I can do with this deck now that I'm playing Dandelion and Future Fusion, because that kind of was the whole point when I was building this. I got the idea from the Frozen Soul Cup, actually. So when I was forced to make the deck in Highlander format, where you can only use 1 of each card, that's where I first realized that Dandelion actually has some real merits to it in real Edison format, like outside of just, Frozen Soul. So if you have any of these cards like together, you could do some really busted stuff. So, for example, if you open up 1-for-1 Dandy, you like, just as a Tengu Plant type of thing, but you 1-for-1 Dandy, you discard, you bring out Substitute. So yeah, you bring out Substitute, and then you get your 2 tokens. And what's crazy about this combo to me, like one of the craziest things about it, is that doing this, you haven't even used your normal summon yet. So this is one of the most crazy openings you could have, because you haven't used your normal summon yet, and you'll still have 4 other cards in your hand. So like, let's say if I'm simulating this, right? Like I have 4 cards in my hand, and I haven't used my normal summon yet. So already, like, I'm just up a card. Like, I actually just have a +1 right now. And then these can get tributed off. So you can do full combo, like get your dupe frogs out here and everything. And again, you haven't used your normal summon. So what ends up happening is you could end up with like the dupe lock with the Substitute. And because you haven't normal summon yet, if you have either Junk Synchron or Stratos in your hand, These also lead to more pluses because you can go summon Junk Synchron, bring back a Swap Frog, bounce it to your hand, and that'll give you an extra card. And then obviously you know that Stratos is just a +1, so if this is a card in your hand, you'll end up with 8 cards total at the end of this. So Stratos will, come down and then search a card. So like, let's say it search like Malicious Edge or something, whatever you need at the time. But you would theoretically have like this. So on turn 1, you could potentially have 8 cards if you have Junk Synchron or Stratos with this opening. So that's the 1-for-1 Dandy opening. And the same is basically true if you open up Future Fusion. Like, it's not much different. So, and then the same thing, like if you open up Future Fusion, this card's obviously cracked. We already know that, but I think it's actually pretty good in Hero Frogs too. So you can send like Ocean and Dandelion. So just be mindful that you do have to send an elemental hero. So you will need to have either Ocean or Stratos or Alias still in your deck. But you send these two and you reveal Gaia. So then you get your 2 tokens. And then, of course, if you have either 1-for-1 for Substitute or you just have a raw Substitute to summon, this is like already so many cards because right now I've only used 2 cards. So again, I technically have like 4 cards in hand when I'm doing this. Like I actually have 4 cards in hand. And so it's ridiculous because I've used these 2 cards and I still have, so like 4 plus 2. So I have 6 right here and then I have 2 more. So I'm up 2 cards already from just doing this and normal, like I haven't done really much of anything. But you do the full Frog combo and you get double dupe again. So like this is just pretty ridiculous. It's just pretty insane. Like you mill your whole deck, you go down to where you have your Treeborns and your swaps and all that. You dump the whole Frog package, right? And then you can just like, depending on how you want to play, because you won't be able to bring back Treeborn Frog here. But then on the following turn of your opponent sets a back row, you can turn this into a Unifrog. You can attack directly, and if they like have a monster on the field, and after you pop their back row, you can like Caius and stuff like that. And it's still a lot of advantage because on your second turn after your opponent does whatever they do, you'll draw another card. So you'll have 9 cards because this probably isn't going anywhere, to be honest. Like this is a very strong opening. And again, that's just you opening Future Fusion with Substitute or 1-for-1 Dandy, same thing. And that doesn't even use your normal summon. But this is one of the strongest plays. I did it to a couple people where turn 1, one of the craziest things about this is that like, so turn 1 now, the deck can, it can like Unifrog pop stuff and also establish a full dupe block in the same turn. Like that's not really normal for it to be able to do that. So it's kind of crazy. Like if I opened this and I went second and you didn't stop it, like I could go into Unifrog and like attack you directly and then just continue to full dupe block. Like I can get rid of this and do dupe block that way and keep the Unifrog on the field, or if I feel like I don't need the Unifrog anymore, I could just go into that. But the fact that it can do this going second now is really scary, and obviously going first, there's nothing to really stop this. Like they have to be playing fairies with Herald of Orange Light, and that deck isn't really well represented, so that doesn't typically happen. But yeah, it is one of the strongest openings in the format because you end up with 8 cards on turn 1, which is pretty absurd. And again, I found this out when we were testing the Frozen Soul Cup, and I was doing it in that format, and I was like, well, the deck is way more nerfed when it only has 1 of each card. But like in real Edison, you have 3 substitutes, so it happens way more often. But yeah, this is pretty broken. Like this is a very, very strong start. I didn't lose a single game where I opened up with either 1-for-1 and like Dandelion or Future Fusion and Substitute or anything like that. And even the games, the other thing is like, so this is the high end where you open up these insane combos with the Future Fusion and Sub or like 1-for-1 Dandy or whatever. But what I found is that Future Fusion is just a good card in general for this deck because it's Treeborn Frog access in a weird way. Like sure, the Treeborn can't come back right away. But if your hand is set up where you can't Monarch because you can't get back your Treeborn, then I just wouldn't activate the card. I would just wait. And then if your hand is set up where you have like a Dupe Frog or a Battle Fader, or you have like Junk Synchron, you can go Future Fusion, send Swap Frog, and send like Infernal Prodigy, reveal Absolute Zero, and then summon Junk Synchron, bring back Swap, and then bounce them to your hand. So if your opponent doesn't kill the Swap Frog, then you have your Tribute Fighter right there. And even if they do, like depending on what they killed it with, you can just next turn summon Junk Synchron to make a Catastrophe or whatever. And you still have an Absolute Zero coming out at the end of the day. And then this doesn't really get stuck on the field because Bottomless Trap Hole destroys, so Future Fusion will leave the field if the monster comes out and gets bottomless. I don't really run into deep prisons because I just would not attack into a deep prison. And then most of my opponents will have to deal with the Future Fusion anyway. Like it's a Lightning Rod for MST, it's a Lightning Rod for Heavy Storm. It just makes sense because at the end of the day, Absolute Zero is coming out. You do have to deal with an Absolute Zero. Like it's not an easy card to deal with really without trading pretty poorly against it. So I've never had a situation come up where like my Treeborn is locked and it's a really big deal because of that. Like usually I can still play the game even with Future Fusion up. And while I'm waiting those 2 turns, and then eventually Gaia comes out or Zero comes out. And yeah, other than that, the deck ran really smooth. Yeah, I got in the top 8 again. Eventually, I'm going to win one of these things. Like, my luck won't be so bad in Top Cut eventually. So my day is coming. I'm 2 for 2 right now in Ultimate Time Wizard tournaments. And I'm hoping that Konami continues to do them throughout the next year, like 2024. This was really fun as usual. I like the fact that they keep changing what the giant card is. So this time it was Minerva, which is interesting because Minerva comes out like 6 years after Edison, but I guess that just means that we could end up getting anything as the giant card for the Ultimate Time Wizard. Like, it could literally be anything. I thought that they would stick to cards that were actually out for Edison, but that's just not the case. So now we've had like Jinzo, Rescue Cat. I heard something about Pot of Greed. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but we've also had Black Rose Dragon. So, and now Minerva. So yeah, I don't really know the rhyme or reason, but I'm just happy that they're doing these. They're actually very profitable too. Like, the first place prize is always around 5K, if not just straight up 5K at least for the giant card. So that's like really, really amazing. And then second place, those cards are usually worth around $1,000. So these tournaments are like legitimate. They're actually great pricing. Like, that is one of the things that makes me really happy to play in them, because not only do I love playing Edison, but I like playing Edison for a real prize. So yeah, Konami's definitely doing their thing with these, and yeah, I just hope that they keep doing it. Anyway, guys, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this deck profile, seeing the cards in real life. I know people really like in real life deck profiles, which still surprises me, but yeah, I'll do more things like this if this is what people like. And again, special thank you to my friend Xavier for gifting me all of these cards in a really high rarity. I really, really appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.